So in this video, we're going to talk about why we overthink and how to finally stop. This is going to be a comprehensive guide where we're going to go through all the 3 types of overthinking and how to finally stop using mindset and technique. Now imagine that you're driving a car in the middle of the road and your car breaks down. What do? You get out of the car, you check the tires. Okay, so the tires are fine, let's say. You're going to go to the next step. Maybe look at the hood of the car, look at the battery, and that's where you find the problem. The battery is the problem, so you get to work on the battery. Now imagine for a second if when your car broke down, you decided to just take the car and throw the entire car away. How silly would that be? But sometimes that's exactly what we do when we are overthinking. As soon as we start to feel a negative emotion, we directly jump to the worst possible scenario in your head and we catastrophize the whole thing. But why do we overthink at all? What is the need or what is the purpose of overthinking? The first reason why we overthink is because it gives us a false sense of control. Because when we have gaps in our information, we tend to try and look at something from 50 different angles and assume that looking at it from so many different angles is going to give me my answers. It's understandable why you would think that, but at the same time, I have to understand that overthinking gives me an illusion of control and it is not real control. It gives me an illusion of familiarity because there are gaps in my information. Second reason of why we overthink is an evolutionary reason. As cavemen, when we would live in forests, if I was feeling hunky-dory all the time, I would end up dead in about 20 minutes. As human beings, evolutionarily, we are much more built to be sensitive to threat and negative emotions. Negative emotions can look like threat, anxiety, nervousness, frustration, anger, disappointment, all of these different types of feelings. Evolutionarily, negative emotions have served their purpose, but the important thing to remember here is that our brains haven't really kept up with the modernization of being human. Our brains haven't really kept up with the evolutionary progress. It doesn't understand that the noise that's coming from the window is maybe just the wind blowing and not a wild animal trying to break in. Now, the third reason of why we overthink is the law of loss aversion. Imagine if I have 3 mangoes right now. Scenario number 1, you give me 2 mangoes. Now I'm happy. I have 5 mangoes. Scenario number 2 is I have 3 mangoes, but you snatch 2 away from me. Now it's going to cause me some amount of sadness and pain. Now what the law of loss aversion says is that the amount of pain or the magnitude of pain that I feel when you take 2 mangoes away from me is almost twice as much as the joy that I get when you give me 2 mangoes. Which means the amount of pain that we feel from the loss of something is much more potent and is stronger than the amount of joy that I get from gaining something of the same magnitude. Now you might say, Ipsita, but overthinking does serve its purpose somewhere. If I don't overthink, how am I going to analyze the situation? How am I going to come up with solutions to a problem? That is partly true, but at the same time, this is how you recognize that your overthinking is becoming a problem. You recognize that your overthinking is becoming a problem when it paralyzes you into inaction, when it paralyzes you into sitting in your room, isolating yourself from the rest of the world and not doing anything about it. This is the part that you have come to this video for, which is how do we stop overthinking? How do we finally stop this pain, this excruciating overthinking loop, and how do you get some relief? Now, Melody Wilding, a professor of human behavior, came up with one primary factor based on which we categorize the 3 types of overthinking. And that factor is time. The 3 types of overthinking are past, present, and the future. Overthinking based on past, rumination or brooding in your head can sound like, why did I do it? I should have known better. I should have thought twice before saying that. Why didn't I focus on my career 5 years sooner, 5 years earlier? Why did I instead of spending all of that time on my relationship? The second type of overthinking is the overthinking based on your present. This is what we call over-analysis, or famously analysis paralysis. This in your head can simply look like, oh my God, why didn't she text me back? Should I text again? Should I start creating content? What if it doesn't work out? And all those things. This is when you dive too deep into one particular topic and try to look at it from 30, 50 different angles, only trying to figure out if there is some sort of solution that can come out of it. This can also look like procrastinating action and asking for too much opinion, too many advices, too many opinions from other people. Now, the third and the last form of overthinking is overthinking based on the future, which we also call future tripping or simply called worrying. Now, overthinking based on the future can look like this in your head when you're excessively planning for the future, when you're trying to plan too much for what might go wrong, when you're unable to celebrate your successes because of a really long to-do list. You're constantly stuck in a mode where you're afraid of the unknown. Your internal monologue can look something like this, where my entire career is based on this one particular interview. If I don't do well, I'm gonna fail. My future is gonna go down the drain. What if I can't answer something that I'm asked in my graduation presentation? Any of these things. Now let's talk about how to finally stop overthinking. If any of these is you, we're going to talk about a mindset and a technique for each of these 3 types of overthinking, where you can finally apply them and stop overthinking and get a sense of relief. Now, because this video is getting a little bit long, I'm going to talk about the process of overcoming overthinking in the next video, in the part 2 of this video, and I'll see you there.